Yo, what's up, crew? I am so dang excited about this career chat today because I have a special person to me on this career chat. And this guy is multi-talented. He is so tenacious. He is so determined. He is a driven career touring crew guy. I'm telling you, this guy is so hyper-focused and very intentional. He was one of my early coaching clients, students in some of my programs. And I got to tell you, man, I couldn't be prouder of who he is become today. And his story is going to blow your mind. Let's welcome Juan Rubio. What's
What's
up,
up,
Juan?
Kenny? How are you, man? Thank you for having me.
Man, you know me, dude. I'm doing so dang good. How are you doing, by the way?
We're doing good, man. Doing good. Just living life, enjoying it, and just taking the career ride and just letting it roll.
I'm so excited in this response because Juan and I were talking right before we jumped here on camera about the transitions and all the stuff that he's like literally going through today. Like literally, I think you're gigging tonight, leaving tomorrow,
Yeah.
advancing shows today. And then, of course, I had the honor of squeezing out an hour with him today in this career chat to share with us. So, man, thank you again for taking the time. I know you're
Oh,
busy.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, look, take us back a little bit. You know, Juan was in the Backstage Crew career course pre the pandemic. And when you first started, like I didn't actually help you get started into this industry, right? Like you were already working events or what was life like before you found me?
Yeah. So I'm originally from South Florida, so I've been just grinding it out in that scene of really. Yeah, I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know. So I was just working side gigs at venues, security guard, anything they would give me. I would jump on the lighting board, the sound board. I was just doing kind of everything I could, but I really didn't know which way I wanted to go and what to do. So I was probably for years, and I used to play in bands back in the day, but that's really nothing. But yeah, I was working merch, anything you can find or figure out back in Florida.
So before you met me, you were already kind of doing some of that foundational stuff.
Yeah.
Well, now what was your main gig? If that was your side gig, what were you doing as your main gig?
My main gig, I come from a veterinary background, completely different than to music.
Okay.
Something that I've just been with friends and family and doing, but I loved it, but I knew it just wasn't me. And I've always just had that nature nurture to chase the industry, and I've always had a passion for it.
Let's be honest,
Yeah.
you were working as a vet tech for like what, a dozen years?
Oh
Something like
yeah,
that?
like 10 plus years.
Yeah. And so while you were a vet tech, you what all of a sudden was going to concerts or something and was like, man, I want to do this, or what was the spark?
Yeah, I mean, just something I've had some friends that were lucky enough in South Florida to make it and tour, seeing them go into shows and just realizing that I had a nature and a knack for it. I
Mm.
just something I wanted to pursue that just never went away.
Right. And that's it too. Once when you have that bug, it kind of always calls on you. So you're like, what? How did you find some of these local opportunities? What did that look like?
So some of them just going to shows and just talking to people and just
Hmm.
throwing myself out there and just saying, "Hey, you guys have anything?" Or "I'm really interested. I do this. I don't have much time. I have a couple days a week, if that. You guys hiring at any point?" And that's how a lot of it started.
Okay. Well, and by the way, we just had Rachel, your partner in crime from
That's
South
right.
Florida. We just had a career chat with her, which was pretty awesome. And were you working some with Rachel during this time?
Yeah, so I've started make working some gigs. I got this big job at the amphitheater doing like VIP coordination. That was kind of like a break for me, which took a couple years to get. And she was one of the people I met on like one of my first gigs, like running it. We just kind of clicked, hit it off, and realized we both had kind of very similar goal-driven ideas of what we wanted to do and what we wanted to achieve. And it was always good to have a partner in crime like that because you kind of lean on each other, help each other out. And she really expanded me into the sense like I was in this like small little town area and she lived in another one, really connected me to a whole different area, which really expanded like, oh man, there's a lot more than just being VIP or merch and stuff. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah, sometimes that awareness, just having people around you turn you on to those opportunities because I think it was right around this point that Rachel made you aware of the Backstage Crew career program, right?
100%. Yeah, she's the main reason that I got in it. She's the one that told me about it. She knew about it. I never heard about it. And I was like, you know what, this is something I need to kind of guide me to help see if I'm on the right path or or my goals driven enough.
So that was your initial intention when you joined the BCC, was like just to kind of see what this was all about, see if this can help you, or did you have a real target, or did we help you create a target?
So a little bit of both. I mean, I always had a dream and a target of kind of like being a tour manager.
Oh,
And I
okay.
didn't really know how that went, how to go, what to do. And the career coach kind of showed me that, okay, one, that's a career, that's a possibility. And it kind of shaped the like, okay, that is a possible goal. You can achieve it. And it kind of put me in the right path of like what I need to do, make those proper sacrifices to get to where I need to be. So definitely, I knew kind of what I wanted to do, but it definitely opened my eyes and kind of shifted me and guided me in the right direction to achieve goals.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's hard to see the whole picture when you're standing in the frame, but then not to mention, my personal coaching specific to this is very unique on top of that. And luckily at the time, the Backstage Crew career course wasn't just geared towards touring. It was kind of geared towards the industry as a whole. Because we were talking about, cruise ship opportunities and Broadway and theater and
Yeah.
big corporate show opportunities. So you, though, I remember when you first joined, because you were kind of like maybe merch, maybe tour management, but it started to really narrow through the process. Do you remember that course, like actually taking it? Because I was talking to Rachel about this. It was 5 days a week.
Oh, I remember it. And it's one of those things. Being that long, it really grained it in, and it was an awesome experience. Which was funny because what you just kind of mentioned. When I first thought, all I knew was tour manager for rock and roll. Not to know that there's a tour manager for so many things, from musical acts to Broadway to wrestling to just so many things. So that opened my mind to, okay, there's so many different routes you can take. It's not just that basic rock and roll gone 10 months out of the year style. So yeah, that opened my eyes pretty big.
When you were going through the course and stuff, I had you guys do some pretty hardcore homework, like, hey, go out, get this experience, because, we need you to move the career forward. Because truth be told, it was a 30-day program. And the way that I set the program up, it was like literally daily and weekly actions
Yeah.
where we even actually had a test and a whole certification at the end. There was like 100-question test and a certification to finish this program. But the program forced you into actions. How did you make that work with learning all that stuff, getting, coming to class every day, then taking action on all what you're learning on class, and then on top of that, you're working a full-time job as a vet tech still?
I mean, dedication and desire. I mean, you want something, it's worth putting in the time and making it work. And it just kind of flowed something for me. It kind of flowed kind of easy because I knew it's something I wanted to do. And it's just literally learning it and putting into action. I mean, that's one thing I take away from the course, and I still to this day. It's just things that you can put into your daily life of keeping communications, which to me, keeping relationship communication has been the biggest thing that I pulled out of it. And it's been one of the biggest things that helped me so far make this growth in the last 3 or 4 years. So it was kind of one of those things where it was easy to put into play, to learn it. You want it, it's desire. It's just teaching you the tools to make a successful career. So it's kind of something that was a no-brainer. So it wasn't too hard. And I had a very big passion, desire for changing my career and my life. So I don't know if that answered it properly, but
Dude, that is it. You had such a big desire that it was like, well, I could not change or change. I'm gonna go change and then go through whatever it took to change. Did you have a spouse at the time, a girlfriend? Did you live with parents? I don't know. What was your living situation that you're in that
just
time?
just me and my girlfriend. We just been on the own. We're still together. We made the move up here to Nashville. She's with me, which we can talk about it later. But my career has changed her career for the better. She's gotten some great opportunities. She's actually in the music industry herself now.
Wow. I want to hear more about that, which that's a good point to bring up. Is a lot of people that I coach, they're in this transitionary period that you were in, and it's like they're not necessarily getting the support from the spouse or the family or the friends. They just don't really have it as supportive as you did. And we talked to your partner Rachel, where her mom was super supportive. Like, that makes a big play because you're trying to chase your dreams, and you understand that the better I become, the more achieve towards my dreams that I am doing, it will trickle down. The effects of that growth and progress will trickle down to the people that love you.
Oh, 100%. I mean, when anybody that leaves in one state where all your family is to move to another is a hard thing. To have her support from day one was a big factor to make sure, okay, let me chase, there's always going to be hardships ahead, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. But having her support was one of the biggest things. And she really pushed me and guided me to the right thing. And hey, like you said, my success now turned into her success because she's in a great position as well now.
Yes, man. By the way, what did she land into?
She's an accountant for Universal Music.
It's amazing. Proximity, right? Being in the
Yeah.
music city, doing that
Yep.
skill. Now she's working her skill in the music industry. That's amazing. That's what I'm
Yep.
talking about. The trickle down effect of this is tremendous. So I want to speak to the transition here because you started in the Backstage Crew career course at the end of 2019. We didn't know what was about to happen.
Right.
We had no clue that March in about 4 or 5 months from now, the world was going to shut down with COVID. Now, I remember these calls back and forth because I kept on the calls with you guys for a little while after, and then we continued on just to check in on each other. But how was that like? Like, was it just like, oh, shoot, I can't pursue this career anymore? Did you have doubts that you were going to be able to?
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point. It was tough because so I think December of 2019, I started making good connections and I realized, okay, I need to make a good pivotal point. And I wanted to move to Nashville. I was supposed to move April 2020. So when all that happened, that really shut everything down. I mean, I had everything planned. Like we were ending our lease, we were going to look at places. I mean, everything just shut down. The industry shut down. So all my side jobs that I had building up connections that I was supposed to move into to Nashville, all shut down.
Of course.
So it was a big thing. It was a big change, but I didn't let it get me down. I moved with it and eventually ended up finding my way here still.
What was that conversation with your girl? I mean, was it like, was she like, I don't know, Juan, like now that I mean, because listen to this, guys. He still moved to Nashville. Like you were supposed to move in April. Did you move in April? I can't remember.
No, I ended up moving in December of 2020. I had a good job in the veterinary field, and it was one of those things like people weren't working. I still had a good salary gig. Business was booming. So she did have that talk like, hey, do we want to do this? Do we want not? And I just said, hey, look, I put so much work in it. I have so much desire. If I don't do it now, I'm going to live with the regret of not trying. So she said, okay, I'm with you. And we still gave it a shot. We felt that there was a light at the end of the tunnel with everything coming back in 2021.
Well, you got that right. I remember these conversations, and I said the same thing. I mean, you asked me my opinion. I said, man, if you can get there, I mean, the world's going to open back up eventually, and you're going to be positioned perfectly. I remember this conversation. I was like, dude, this is a smart move because no one's doing this. And that's another thing, though, as well, is you have had a lot of the opportunities that you've had thus far. Yes, your relationships, but because of proximity, I mean, you decided, hey, listen, let's up my chances by moving right in the middle of where the opportunities are. You can certainly try and build this career from afar, but like, man, how much more streamlined has it been since you've been in Nashville?
It's made the biggest difference ever because it's one of those things like I felt like I had a good enough connections and I was really pursuing South Florida, but here is just a different level. Everything's here. It's a central hub to not just country music, but to music itself. And to be here, get myself settled in. So when things started opening up, I wasn't calling and say, hey, I'll be there in 2 months. I'm like, hey, I'm here now. And it just really put me in a great position. And it was just one of those risks that did pay off. But Nashville's just been an amazing experience. There's everything here you can ask for from any aspect of music, from behind the scenes to the scenes, and not just country music. I mean, there's so much rock, pop, everything you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, it's Music City all over. I mean, it's definitely grown into a pretty powerful opportunity generally for crew people, and some of these tours are like, well, you got to live in Nashville, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So here you are, nervous as all get out. You moved right in the heart of the pandemic, December 2020. You moved to Nashville. I remember you show up, you got your little French bulldog, right?
Still got her.
your missus and you guys were so excited. I remember a conversation I had with you, and you were like, well, man, now that I'm here, like, what are some of the kinds of things that I can do being with COVID in place and all of that stuff, you know? What did you end up doing?
Well, at the first start, I took advantage of, even though it was pandemic, this city is really big on tourism. So I took advantage of that. I started Ubering. I started working at some restaurants, which I made some great connections because a lot of people that were in the industry were doing that as their pandemic. So I made connections there like I would at a gig. I took the advantage, I took the opportunity to see what were people were doing, but just did some side jobs here or there, took advantage of the city, what the city provides, which was tourism, restaurants, the music industry, things like that. As things started opening up, I started, throwing my name at a volunteer at a couple studios, rehearsals, just kind of help out, just meeting people, connecting with people.
Okay. And then once when some of the events started to kind of peel back open and we could see this happening, you started to go down to some of the actual facilities and shops, right?
Oh yeah. Went out there, just introduced myself, always put a face to a name, just seeing what they can do, any way I can help,
How
anywhere I can.
receptive were they when you showed up unannounced?
You know what? It was one of those things. Some of them were caught off by tour because things were going on, but I think they liked the drive. They saw like a good determination. So overall, I think they accepted it pretty well. But it's all how you present yourself. You can't run in there busting the door acting rude. But if you present with kindness and eager, people were in this town are very receptive to that because they've been there themselves. They know how it is.
Well, and also, you're not showing a level of desperation, but you're showing determination,
Yes.
And there's a big difference. It might seem like a fine line, but like during that time, especially, there was probably a lot of desperate people. And, we can clearly see people that are desperate to get on gigs because they're desperate to try to do it. Versus someone that's determined to build a career at this, which means that they're going out there to put themselves out there in the proper way. So you hit the nail on the head. It is all about preparation. How nervous were you, though? I mean, I know you're a bit more of an extrovert.
Oh, I'm an extrovert 100% since the day I was born.
Yeah. Tell me, how did that feel like getting the gumption to go around and just cold walk into companies?
Going back to determination and what I wanted. I mean, I made the move already. I did the hard part. I made the move transition. So at this point, I said, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
Go there with respect. And yeah, I was nervous as can be. I mean, if I tell you I wasn't, I'm lying. But I was nervous, but it was one of those things at the end of the day, I'm like, I have a goal I set for myself. I left my comfort zone. I'm here. What do I have to lose? So it turned more to eagerness and full of hope than more nervousness.
Yeah. I love that, man. You had a lot of faith in yourself that you're doing the right work. And it was awesome to see. I remember you were like going to Move TV and you were going to Soundcheck and you were putting yourself out there because as a tour manager, which was still your intentional main goal, right, at this point.
Yeah.
Did you get on with any of these companies?
No, but it did open opportunities. For example, for Soundcheck, I got through an opportunity to apply for a job and I got through like 3 or 4 interview process. I didn't get the job, which is fine. But the funny thing is I built a relationship. So when I did become a tour manager and I had to book stuff, they knew me already. So when I went in there to say, hey, they're like, oh yeah, we remember you. And we already had that relationship built. So the fact that I didn't get it wasn't the end of goal because I got a good job before, but I built a relationship with them, which made things easier for me when I got my job, if that makes any sense.
It certainly does, man. I mean, that's the power of community and the relationships and all of that, because Soundcheck, the facility that we're talking about here, is a huge rehearsal facility in Nashville where bands rehearse there. They also store their gear and there's a lot of lockers there, and there's also like vendors and stuff like people like Shure microphones and the Crew One stagehand office and all these different offices of vendors and guitar companies like Fender and stuff is there. And so it's a huge facility of just, the industry is there, that your people are there. And the fact that you've pre-built a relationship with the owners of that is huge, especially now that you're doing what you're doing, which I want to get there for sure. But it wasn't a straight line from like, okay, cool. Now what can I do? Because what was your next step? I mean, did you get on with Crew One? Did you get on with how did you get the transition to getting your first?
The way it worked, it's funny, like I made a bunch of connections. I felt I was going at one point, instead of getting on the road, I thought I was going to get into one of these warehouses, companies, things like that. And I just saw a friend post that, hey, this band's looking for something. And, I just threw my name out there, contacted the guy. Lo and behold, we both grew up from the same area in South Florida, never knew each other. And he's like, "Hey, we're looking kind of for like a merch person with side teching degree." Or like, that's not me, but I'm willing to learn and give it a chance to get myself out there. That's how I kind of got my first break.
Now, I remember this call, and before we jump into that, I want to ask you though, right before that, so when you were in Nashville, like you didn't get to do any production work before you put yourself out to that gig. Is that
Correct.
right?
Correct. I mean, I worked at a couple studios, but it wasn't anything like major production work.
Okay, cool, man. So just goes to show you, you know, you took your Florida experience and put yourself out there, and you also showed confidence. And so I remember you got the interview for this gig, and you were interviewing for it, and you reached out to me, and you're like, dude, here's this opportunity. It sounds awesome, but I don't really know the backline stuff like this. You were like, what would you recommend? What would you do in my shoes? And that's, by the way, that's the question Juan always asks. He doesn't ask me like how to do it. He always asks me what I would do, which is a smart question, by the way. That's a smart question. What I would do is I would invest in myself. And that's what I said, right? What did you do?
I invested in myself, took the lessons that I needed to learn what I did, and bought the proper gear to set myself up for success.
What did you buy?
To start off, we bought a just little tabletop, Guitar Tech tabletop, which I will tell you I still have to this day.
How much
It travels with me on every fly date. And I bought a couple pedals, cables, I even got myself a guitar. I'm a drummer by trade. So guitar was completely different. Bought myself a couple guitars, kind of learn and really get comfortable with the instrument to learn that side gig. But yeah.
So you spent, I mean, because that mobile guitar workstation is probably $400. The Peterson Strobe tuner I told you to buy was another $100 or $150, $130, plus all the cables and stuff. Then you bought a guitar, which I remember you were like brand new shiny guitar.
Yeah.
And then you asked me, you said, hey man, can we just do a one-on-one guitar tech stringing setup, guitar setup workshop? I'm like, let's do it. And we literally got on Zoom, but he had the courage and the boldness to ask me that. And then also right before that, he invested in everything. He bought the stuff. Like, how did you get the money?
Just some saving and working these side gigs, I knew at the end of the day, I knew I'd be working all these little side gigs, but at the same time, I knew it was worth for a bigger purpose. I had this determination. I have this fire inside of me that I know I want to be successful in this career.
I love it, man. Because it is determination, all that, but the money thing is a big one to people, and it's really about your priorities, isn't it?
Yeah. I knew if I worked a little extra harder, picked up a couple extra shifts, I'd be able to buy these extra things, still cover my cost. I knew what my ground was. I knew what I had to cover. Still cover that, but I was able to afford these extra things to put myself in a successful position.
Right. Because it is true. It is true. You put yourself in a successful position because you invested in yourself. Then you took time to learn how to set up and restring electrics and stuff. Okay, so did you get the gig?
I did. I got the gig.
Now that gig, that was your very first tour. What did that look like? Was it a bus tour or what?
Bus tour, yeah, bus tour. And I got thrown right into the mouth of the beast. Big, we're supporting one of three on huge amphitheaters, arenas. Like I just got thrown right into it. And it's just, fight or flight. I was doing guitar teching and merch to start out with. And very quickly, I got thrown into being a stage manager. So I had to learn everything with the sense of backline, stage, prep the merch, everything but selling. Sometimes I had to sell if we were at a small show and that was the only thing to do, and then thrown into guitar teching, setting up guitars and doing guitar changes during the show.
Okay, so you're still not tour managing yet at this point. You get your first tour, and let me ask you about the money for that.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, this is an entry-level tour. Say even above an entry-level tour if they're in a bus already.
Yeah.
But for you, it was an entry-level and entry point into it. How much did something like that pay?
Doesn't pay much, when you're getting, especially with a growing artist and stuff. I mean, I think we were talking about like $200 to $250 a show.
Okay, so $200 to $250 a show. When they spit that number back out at you, did you ever in your mind think that's not enough?
No, just because I knew if I hustled and worked, it's just a stepping stone. More's gonna come. Yeah. That's the way I thought of it. I did the numbers in the sense: can I survive? Can I cover my basic bills? And then I went with it. And then everything else was just, it's going to open more doors.
That's right, because there's a lot more compensation there than monetary.
Yeah.
For sure. And because we also talked about we had a money management class that we or day, I think, that we did in our course where we talked about that. Like, look, in this transition and in this rise, it's really about what can you actually get by with, because you need to be able to advance. And in the early days, it's not as much as it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so you have to be very understanding, like knowing your numbers gives you confidence to be able to accept something like that. So dude, you had the opportunity to just like get all of this experience. Let me ask you a question. When you got hired on and it was like, well, merch and the guitar tech, and then all of a sudden they threw this on you and threw this on you and threw this on you, were you ever overwhelmed, or were you just like, give it to me?
I'm very one to take things on and roll with it. So I wouldn't call it overwhelm. It was an adjustment period to get used to everything and learn, but then I just kind of rolled with it.
Until it became, you were conditioned?
Yeah.
That's rad. Well, I mean, that's a big concern, because sometimes, people have these expectations like, well, I just got hired as the merchant guitar tech and now I got to do all these other things. But you're career minded. And I just wanted to bring that up because that is a big difference of somebody that has a job and a career that's so single minded, that's just so this is what I do, that's not my job mentality. And especially in these situations, you just can't be that way.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was a reason why that you got the next level opportunity that I'd love for you to share with us as far
Oh
as
yeah.
in the camp?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, you want to make yourself valuable, but you want to know what value you're bringing, and that's what I did. I knew I was bringing good value. I showed it. They appreciated, understood, and then just like in any industry, people move on. Our tour manager happened to move on to good things, and an opportunity presented itself, and I threw myself into the position. I said, "Hey, I really want this. I feel we can make it work. I've showed you my value, my hard work," and I kind of went from there.
So who did you tell that to? Management? Since the tour manager was the guy that initially hired you, right? Or no?
Yes. So I had a conversation with him. He put his name behind me. Uh,
Oh.
I told it to my artists. I told it to my management, but I made some connections on the road with other managers that I let them know my desires, what I wanted to do respectfully, not trying to take anybody's job, but they saw it. They saw my hard work. They actually were some of the ones that, without me even knowing, called management and said, I'll put my name behind him because I know he can do it.
See, wow, so powerful, man. Guys, I hope you're hearing this. You have to express to people your intentions, not just what you want, but why you want them.
Yeah.
That's the difference of just networking and relationship. It's like, oh, what do you do? What do you do? Great. What do you want to do? Great. But why you want to do it is the relationships that you have. And those relationships will go to bat for you even when you don't ask them to.
100%. 100%.
Which is actually something that I did. Was during this bit of time, I had my own show down here in Tampa, and I had hired Sister Hazel, the band from the 90s, to come by to do our show. And the tour manager had asked me that day, said, hey, do you know somebody that could do merch for us for a run? And I don't know if was that before this gig or that was after.
Like in between, like I started this gig, we did a month and we had like a month off, and then that's when that thing happened.
That's right. So he's on this month off, and here I come calling. I say, hey, Juan. And by the way, I tell people this all the time. Like, I don't use my personal contacts for my students or my coaching clients, right? But at this point, Juan's not that. He has completely proven his value to me. And I am so happy to recommend Juan now moving forward, period. And so I got to slide Juan the Sister Hazel gig, which he went out there and killed. I think they offered you a spot, right?
They did. Yes, they did. But I was already committed, and I'm a man of my word. So
yeah, but that's hard though, right? Like Sister Hazel, they're relevant, or at least a bigger name. You could like jumped up. It's like, oh, I'm Sister Hazel's guy now. Because a lot of people would have been like, oh man, that's more money and more reputability, and I could go over there and do that and expand my network in that world. You were like, I'm committed and stuff. But what were you committed to at this point?
So I was just committed to my group, my team, and I knew I had room to grow there. I had the opportunity not just to be stuck in one position. I can do multiple positions, but it would let me eventually grow to something in the sense of tour manager. That's what really was appetizing to me.
Yeah, yeah. So did you go back out on that next month after Sister Hazel, or was it, or and become the tour manager, or it was a little while after that, I believe,
It was a
right?
little while, yeah. It started last year, so the whole 2021, we did the whole tour, do everything. Beginning of last year, our guy came out. I think we were there like a month, and then he gave the word that, hey, I'm going on to a different camp. I got a great opportunity, and then I think it's early 2022 is when I got the opportunity to be tour manager. Been it since.
Yeah, that's so cool. So, was management hesitant at all? I mean, like the current management, were they just like, I don't know, this guy's never settled shows before, and there's a lot of things to contend with. Like, what did that look like?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, anytime you're bringing somebody into a position that doesn't have experience, it's definitely I can understand it was a little nerve-wracking opportunity or for them. But at the sense, I had the backing of I proved myself that I can do all these extra things. I can do that. I'm comfortable with it. And I showed my expression. I built such a good relationship with them that they gave me the opportunity.
That's huge, man. And obviously, the artist wasn't nervous at all because they were.
Yeah, we know.
Do you just tour manage? What was your role out there, or still out there?
So pretty much I adapted a little bit of my roles that I have with tour managing. I don't do merch anymore. I hand the merch completely duties off, but I kind of blended my stage managing guitar tech roles into one. So I'll do like tour managing, and then when it's showtime, I'll handle the guitars and help direct, pack everything up. Got a couple more crew members that made things a little easier in the sense of, loading the trailer, things of that nature, but mostly tour managing style.
Well, that's huge,
Yeah.
because that's why I try to tell everyone that I coach is like, it's not necessarily just a linear path here. There might be some additional unique things and responsibilities in the stair stepping process to get to these gigs. Like Juan was like, well, I'm not a guitar tech, but I needed to learn guitar tech in a short amount of time so I could even be up for the opportunity. And now he's like, still guitar tech. That's fun. There's a little bit of funness to the guitar teching, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good time. Makes the showtime pass.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, I know the trajectory of where you're at and where you're going with this, but I just wanted to, before we move on to this next kind of phase of your career, mind you, all of this that we're talking about happened from the end of 2019 or a little before that before you found me because you were working some side gigs.
Yeah.
So a bit before that, 2019 to now. That's not very long ago.
No.
And we had a pandemic that shut stuff down for almost 2 years between it all. And so during that first year till now, I guess, of touring, I mean, you got to travel all around the States and Canada. Have you gone international yet?
No, excitedly going to go international here in March.
Yes. Yes, that's exciting.
So it'll be good. But no, yeah, like you said, like once it hits running, just roll with it, keep going. Because like you said, I've been able to, I think I've done 47 or 46 states out of the 50 plus Canada. I mean, that's something I never would have imagined. And now I'm preparing to go overseas. It's just something that it just goes, it happens.
It's such a cool thing. It's like, I don't like to just breeze over it because, man, a lot of times the people that want to do this, they're doing it because they want to travel and they want to experience that. But I just want to really impress upon people that are watching this, like it happens in a very short amount of time that you go to these places. And now you are starting to get familiar with not just your Nashville and all that, but like you're getting familiar with the world. Well,
oh yeah, it's funny. I've never would have thought that I would be familiar without Google Maps getting around Sioux Falls. I've been to Sioux Falls for some reason so many times. Never would imagine I'm there. I can get around there without a problem. It's weird.
It is awesome. No, it's really cool, man. And you're gonna find that, like, I mean, do it as long as I have, 20 plus years, and golly, you'll have friends in all over the world, and it's really a blessing, really a bonus as part of this work that a lot of people don't talk about, because this happened in such a short amount of time that you got this much travel experience and life experience, man.
Yeah.
Recently, you're going through a transition.
Great. Yep. Some opportunities presented my way. Sometimes growth just comes at you and you got to present yourself. Can't say with yet, but
Yeah.
I'll be pivoting, as we say in this group, leveling up to some other opportunities here in the near future.
The realities of career building is this right here. Like, talk a little bit about the pain of the transition.
Just sometimes, certain people have certain views of the way paths go, and not realizing how life on the road goes, this, that. Some people just have multiple views on what the way they want to go. And sometimes paths get crossed, best way to put it.
Yeah.
And not everybody's seeing the same route, the same road. So people are having different views on it. If that makes any sense?
This actually happens more often than not. People that are watching this that are trying to pursue any gig in this industry is potentially going to go through this, okay? Because of the communication disconnect, because certain things are not on the same page. May I generalize what happened?
A little bit.
Okay. In short, disconnect happens between what like Juan said, what should go on from a management standpoint, and then there's the road management and the actual things that are actually going on the road. Management feels like they want to make a change, and at this point, you were kind of looking for opportunities.
No, I mean, we were looking to kind of like strengthen our opportunity and our operation and kind of build it. I mean, you're always listening and hearing opportunities pass, but I think we were all talking about just building our operation more than anything.
So Juan's feeling like, hey, I'm digging in here, and this new vision is not lining up. The new vision for management, we'll say.
Yeah.
The new values from management is not matching up with the realities of what's going on the road. You saw on an outreach of job opportunities that your artist was one of the ones that was looking for your position.
Yes.
And you were like, what the heck? I thought I'm here digging in and I'm seeing my position posted as an opportunity in the market. Like, what the heck's going on here? And that's when you kind of learned about this disconnect, about the lack of value or the lack of
communication, best put it.
And so you find this gig and you're just like, what the heck? Thrown off guard, and you outreach to them and you're not on the same page, and then they apologize to you, right?
They did, yes.
And the artist had no clue this was going on.
Correct.
And so, and I'm laying this out because it's very important, because this goes on all the time. Sad to say, it goes on way too much because management is so disconnected sometimes, a lot of times, from what's actually going on the road. And so Juan had built up all of this value, and here he is thinking he's digging in, and really the management's like, oh, well, we're going to try to relieve some pressure of this situation and just like get someone fresh. Problem was the artist didn't want that at all. Like, the artist was like fighting for, not even just fighting for him, but pretty much told management, nah, like, we want to keep Juan, right? So then Juan, after absorbing all of this, feeling probably a bit bummed, probably my guess, a bit kind of
disappointed, disgruntled,
bit of a slap in the face. You were like, wait a minute, I was all in. What's going on here? But then what did you do with that information?
You know what? I just sat back and I thought, and I said, maybe this is the time to take a step away, breathe, focus on myself, and see what opportunities might be out there, and in a sense, level up.
Yeah. Because sometimes when these things happen, it is an opportunity for you to reevaluate. I know that when you told these folks that you've decided to go ahead and move on because of this issue, they were all trying to convince you to stay.
Correct.
The artist included. And I think ultimately management came back and was like, hey, look, can we figure something out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what happens. It wasn't that Juan wasn't all in and doing the job and all that stuff, even though that is what they call a mind F, if you will. The fact of the matter is it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, wasn't it?
In a sense, yeah. Yeah. Because, I wasn't really looking before, there's always kind of keeping my eye out like anybody does with any situation, but it kind of gave me more an opportunity to just throw my name out there, see what's out there, and then the opportunity came knocking.
So fortunately, in this case, Juan didn't lose his job. He walked away from the opportunity. And of course, you're still finishing it through, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'm still finishing through. Gave my proper time. I think we're just about a month or so. Got a few more weekends left, and then going on to the next chapter.
Going on to the next chapter, which is wonderful because there's always a next chapter. And so now that you're moved on to this next opportunity that heads out soon, how do you feel now about your experience?
Oh, I mean, nothing, no regret at all, nothing but happiness. I mean, I've made great friendships, great connections that put me in these new positions going forward. I just think it's just, the building block. I don't, no regrets or past at all. And it's experiences, like you said, that I'm going to learn from to make myself better, to build myself up, to eventually level up again at some point.
Yeah, what are you most excited about the work of the next chapter?
Oh man, just the opportunities. It's a similar situation but different, and I think it's going to provide a lot more experience opportunity for me to grow, especially as a tour manager.
Man, and that's what you're after. But you did it, dude. I mean, you're one of my like I'm over here cheering you on. I'm championing you because you're one of my personal biggest inspirations. You just really have taken the ball and ran with it. And I can only imagine that I'm sitting here talking to the future TM of a huge, massive artist and tour run. I mean, this guy is going to be on all the big stuff in the future. And that's the truth. It's clear as day that has all the ingredients to really get out there and grow. And I'm just so excited for you, Juan. I'm so dang excited for you.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I wouldn't be here without you. What you teach and what you preach is just it's tried and true. I mean, they worked for me.
Yeah, well, you would be here without me, just maybe not as fast and as far along. That's for sure. Because the tenacity that you bring to the table is you can't teach that. I can take that and coach it, but you can't teach that. And so that's on you. But kudos and thank you for giving me the blessing and honor to be your coach and your mentor through all of this. If there's something that you want to share, one big idea, one big takeaway that you wouldn't mind sharing with the Crew Coach folks here, that would just give them the right idea about their pursuits and what they're actually after here with their careers.
Don't be afraid of opportunity and the future. You can direct your own path. You'll get speed bumps. Just don't be afraid. Be patient.
I love that. Don't be afraid and be patient. Well, man, I appreciate the heck out of you, Juan Rubio. Guys, if you have one takeaway that you could learn from this, please post it in the reply thread. What was one thing that Juan shared that really hit home with you? And until next time, go get them.